Hello, dear friends. I hope you're doing really well. Let's continue reading. We are in Deuteronomy chapter 20. So, Moses is still talking to Israel, and these are different laws, and it's a short chapter. Let's see. Chapter 20. Okay, there it is. When you go out to battle against your enemies and see horses and chariots and people more numerous than you, do not be afraid of them, for the Lord your God, who brought you up from the land of Egypt, is with you. When you are approaching the battle, the priest shall come near and speak to the people. He shall say to them, Hear, O Israel, you are approaching the battle against your enemies today. Do not be faint-hearted. Do not be afraid or panic or tremble before them, for the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies to save you. The officers also shall speak to the people, saying, Who is the man that has built a new house and has not dedicated it? Let him depart and return to his house, otherwise he might die in the battle, and another man would dedicate it. Who is a man that has planted a vineyard and has not begun to use its fruits? Let him depart and return to his house, otherwise he might die in the battle, and another man would begin to use its fruit. And who is a man that is engaged to a woman and has not married her? Let him depart and return to his house, otherwise he might die in the battle, and another man would marry her. Then the officer shall speak further to the people and say, Who is a man that is afraid and faint-hearted? Let him depart and return to his house, so that he might not make his brother's heart melt like his heart. When the officers have finished speaking to the people, they shall appoint commanders of armies at the head of the people. When you approach a city to fight against it, you shall offer it terms of peace. If it agrees to make peace with you and opens to you, when all the people who are found in it shall become your forced labor and shall serve you. However, if it does not make peace with you but makes war against you, then you shall besiege it. When the Lord your God gives it into your hand, you shall strike all the men in it with the edge of the sword. Only the women and the children and the animals and all that is in the city and all its spoil you shall take as booty for yourself, and you shall use the spoil of your enemies which the Lord your God has given you. Thus you shall do to all the cities that are very far from you, which are not of the cities of these nations nearby. Only in the cities of these peoples that the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance you shall not leave alive anything that breathes, but you shall utterly destroy them. The Hittite and the Amorite, the Canaanite and the Pharisite and the Hivite and the Jebusite, as the Lord your God has commanded you, so that they may not teach you to do according to all their detestable things which they have done for their gods, so that you would sin against the Lord your God. When you besiege a city a long time to make war against it in order to capture it, you shall not destroy its trees by swinging an axe against them, for you may eat from them, and you shall not cut them down. For is the tree of the field a man that it should be besieged by you? For is the tree of the field a man that it should be besieged by you? Only the trees which you know are not fruit trees you shall destroy and cut down, that you may construct siege works against the city that is making war with you until it falls. So this chapter is, I think it's also controversial. Israel is about to go into the promised land, but they have to go and conquer the cities, and God is going to give them the victory. But even though God is giving them the victory, He's giving them some guidelines. If a man has a new house but hasn't dedicated it, it was better if he stayed in his house and not go to war, because he might die in war. You know, if a man had planted a vineyard and hadn't yet eaten from the fruit, it's better to stay in his house and enjoy that, because at war he might die and not enjoy the fruit of his vineyard. If a man was about to be married and had to go to war, it's better if he got married and passed and spent time with his wife, because at war he might die, and he wouldn't be able to do that. So those were like three exceptions for the men that had to go to war, but these situations allowed them to stay. Another situation that allowed men to stay at home was if they were really scared, and if they put fear in their mates, in their fellow soldiers. It's better if they didn't go to war. If they were scared, just fearful, no. And also, what was the other thing? Yeah, no, if the people that went to war, they had to have confidence in the Lord, and have confidence in the Lord, and go with the right attitude. Before the war, the priest would go and give them. You would probably say a pep talk, but it was like it was the truth. God is God is the one who is fighting for them when they go and conquer the cities in the promised land. God is the one who is fighting for them. So they needed to have the right attitude, not the bad attitude. Not like, oh, I have to go fight. Oh, I'm so scared. No, they had to go with the right attitude, with faith that they were doing the job that God is asking them to do. So that was very important. And the controversial part is when Moses is saying that when they go and they will conquer a city, but not the city, those faraway cities. They would give the option to the city if they could, become taxpayers, tributaries or something, or how do you say, like a nation that's serving Israel. And if they say peace, then that was good. But if they said no, then they would have to besiege the city and that. But the very controversial part is the one where God is telling Israel that there's 6 nations: the Jebusites, the Perizzites, the Amorites, the Canaanites. I don't know which more. Those God was telling them to not to have mercy. They had to die. Those nations, and it seems so harsh, right? So harsh, so extreme. But God is giving them the reason. If they let those nations alive, those nations are going to turn Israel to the false gods. And what are false gods, dear friends? False gods are demons, fallen angels. Nobody can be with God and the devil. Impossible. Impossible. Okay? So they had to, I don't know how to say it. They had to terminate those 6 nations, Israel, the ones that are living the promised land. But we're going to see, dear friends, you probably say, oh, that's so bad, that's so mean. We're going to see, unfortunately, Israel doesn't obey God. Unfortunately, Israel in the future, we're going to see that not too long, in the book of Judges, they make these nations, these 6 nations, not all 6, but some of them, they make them taxpayers, tributaries. And after that, dear friends, they're going to get in a lot of trouble, a lot of problems, a lot of suffering, because they did not listen to God. You probably say, oh, that's so mean. Why God wants those nations to die? Well, God has given them plenty of time. But they haven't turned their ways. They haven't turned to God. They haven't repented. They have a wild, perverted lifestyle. And God is giving permission to Israel to judge those nations. And you're going to see, because Israel, with Moses, that's good. With Joshua, Israel, that's good. But afterwards, they make those nations that they have to finish, they make those nations taxpayers, serving nations, but they're going to cause a lot of heartache, a lot of pain, of suffering of Israel, because these nations, once every so often, they will try to finish Israel. Pretty much like today, dear friends. Today is kind of the same. There is no peace in Israel. No peace. So, when God says something, there is a reason. He knows, and we should trust Him. He knows, and in this case, He knows. He's asking Israel to terminate those nations, the ones in the Promised Land, those 6 nations, I think. But and it's not extreme. You're gonna see later. It's not extreme. You're gonna see the terrible things that happens to Israel in the book of Judges, and so God is telling Israel to terminate those nations, the ones in the Promised Land. The names are there, and also He's telling Israel that when they're besieging a city for a long time, that if there is around a tree that gives fruit, like an apple tree or a orange tree or a fig tree, they shouldn't cut that tree down, because that tree is going to be useful for them. If they're going to conquer the city, they will be eating from those fruit trees, So don't cut those trees. But if there are other trees that do not give fruit, then they can cut those to help them to conquer the city that they are besieging. So I'm going to stop here. Hopefully we can continue tomorrow. Bye bye.